Hello, 7th graders. This is Ms. Piambo, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about taking notes for this year. It'll be similar to how you did it last year if you were here at Hillview, but a little bit different. You'll notice that the note sheets look pretty much the same. If you haven't already gotten your note sheets down, please pick 3 of the white sheets. Go ahead and write your name at the top, your teacher's name, the topic for your research, and on each page write one of your 3 subtopics. Hopefully by now you've already picked out your subtopics. If you haven't, please try to do that within the first 5 or 10 minutes of class. If you need to pause, go ahead and do that right now. Then you'll notice that under each source number you write source number 1. That's because you're going to try to take notes from each source in each subtopic. You won't always be able to, but as much as possible you should do that to try to get a mix of information from every source in each subtopic. Also, just to keep everything straight, please number each note sheet 1. You are not this time keeping track of how many notes you have total. You're keeping track of how many notes you have per subtopic to try to make sure that you have a good mix of enough information in each subtopic. Some of you last year found that after you divided up your information into subtopics, you had to go back and do some research in some of the topics, and you don't want to have to do that this time. So it'll be a little bit more challenging each time you take a note. For this example about the movies, if you had the note, for example, that The Jazz Singer was the first movie ever made, which note sheet would it go on? Would it go under How Films Are Made, the History of Film, or the Future of Movies? So if you said the history of film, you were correct. So it's a little bit more effort at the beginning of, as you're taking your notes, but it will save you effort later on down the line. So I've already hinted at some of the ways in which your note-taking is going to a new level this year compared to last year. As always with research, your goal is to learn about your topic and to share that information with others. Now I know we're really goal-oriented here at Hillview, so you might sort of get caught up in taking notes, but that's not really your goal. Your notes are only reminders of the information that you've learned. One thing that I would like you all to really focus on this time is to read a lot before you start taking notes. In 6th grade it was kind of, read a little bit, take a note, read a little bit, take a note. This time we want you to read a big chunk and take a note. And let's look at the next slide to see what we mean by that. So in 6th grade, we took notes. We were really trying to hammer home the idea of one idea per note. So you might have noticed that you put when the Socrates was born in one note and when he died in another note, that he was a philosopher, a teacher, he was original, influential. You were separating out all the information that you might ever want to separate, and that was okay because that's what we were really trying to learn. In 7th grade, we really want you to focus on getting the main idea. So you can put born and died in one note together. We're not cutting up our notes, so if you end up later wanting to separate that information, you still can. But 6th grade, we kind of missed the main point. I am a teacher, but you're not going to be talking about me thousands of years after I die. However, Socrates had a huge influence on Western civilization, and that's why he's so important. That's the main idea. And so we really want you in 7th grade to capture the most important information. One of the things that I noticed time and time again is that a student will ask for clarification on a piece of source information. And I go and I look at the source and I realize that the question that they're asking is answered in the following sentence. Did that student read that sentence? Probably not. So make sure that you're reading at least a paragraph, probably an entire section, and then going back, thinking about what was most important and capturing those main ideas and important details in your notes. So at Hillview in the library, we do talk a lot about avoiding plagiarism. And it's not because we think you guys are big cheaters. It's because we know, again, that you're really driven and you want to do a good job and you want to be efficient and you want to be effective. But in trying to be efficient and taking notes quickly, it's easy to fall into bad habits and just start copying without even realizing it. So make sure that every single note goes into your own words, your own order, and one idea per note. So own words is one thing that a lot of kids are really good at. They know they have to not copy direct phrases from the source unless those are phrases that every source uses. Own order is a little bit trickier. And that's again where reading an entire paragraph and distilling the main ideas into your own words will make that a little bit easier. But if you have a note that's really just kind of a one-sentence note and you're not really sure how to put that into your own words, my trick is always to take the last bit of that, move it to the beginning, and make that the start of your note. So for this one, you might say, sand covered the Sphinx up to its neck. So just make sure that you are doing both own words and own order. We find that a lot of the times kids focus on one or the other. Do your best to focus on both. So remember that one of the ways to be a responsible researcher is to keep track of your sources to prepare for doing your bibliography later. We are going to be doing our bibliographies on Noodle Tools, but we're going to do it on paper first with the pink sheets. So make sure that you have a pink bibliography page. Make sure that you also have a blue sample title page. We've already talked about numbering your sources on your note pages. Notice that the pink bibliography page also has a place for source number. Your first source might be a book, it might be an encyclopedia. You can do the pink sheets completely out of order. That doesn't matter, just so long as you have bibliography information for each of the sources that you use. You should record the information on your pink sheet before you return the book to the cart. Before you start even recording that information, though, you want to check to see if your source is an encyclopedia or a book. How can you tell the difference? Well, think about the World Book. How is the information in the World Book organized? It's alphabetical. In encyclopedias, in general, the information is alphabetical. Also, the book itself is organized into volumes. So look at the title page of your source and see, is there a place for a volume number or a volume range? Look at the title page or the table of contents. Is the information in chapters or is it in articles that are just sort of alphabetical? So that's kind of how you would determine if it's a book or an encyclopedia. And if you really can't tell, then you can ask one of us. It's also, so make sure that you're using the correct source type for that. And definitely use your blue sheet as much as possible. Hold the sample title page up to the blue sheet. It's hard to figure out where stuff is on that title page. Get as much of the information as you can from there. Use the blue sheet to help you. We're happy to help you with that, but we want to make sure that you're trying on your own first. And make sure that you have all sources written down before the end of the period. If you are using one of the databases, so you're not working from a print source, you're working from an online source, and remember, do not go straight to Google and Google things. We want you to stick to the Pathfinder that we've created for you on the website. So usually you'll be going to a database or an ebook. If you're using one of those, then just under source number, instead of just writing number, you might just write a little bit about how you got to there. Maybe you went through the GVRL, the Gale Virtual Reference Library, and, kind of write a little bit about the title of your source number. When we get to Noodle Tools, we will show you how to do that. And it'll actually be pretty easy for you. So hopefully I've answered all the questions that you have. If not, you can ask your teachers. If I'm in the room or if Mrs. Matheny is in the room, you can ask one of us. We wish you the best of luck and hope that you get lots and lots of research done today. Thanks.